Hi, welcome to another edition of Aquatic Inertia, and thanks for watching. In this video, we're going to do a aquarium setup. Now in my basement, I have a lot of extra aquarium equipment because I'm kind of a sucker for deals on Marketplace and Craigslist. When I find a good deal, I have a lot of trouble passing it up. So I've collected all of this stuff, and the other day I was looking around the basement and I thought, man, I've got a lot of stuff and it's time to set one of those tanks up. So let's get started. Okay, well here's the space I'm going to be putting this aquarium. As you can see, I've already put it in place. The surrounding area does need to be organized, but right now I'm just focused on getting this tank up and running. But what I really want to show you is kind of my starting point. So this is what I have. I have a 55-gallon aquarium with the back painted. That's how I received it. It's very clean, so I don't have to do much cleaning. I'm just going to wipe it down, kind of more dust it than clean it. And I also have this metal stand, which I really like in the basement because I could put another tank down there pretty easily. And it's going to give me plenty of room as long as the tank's not too tall. So like a 20 long might work down there. That would be a good size for that area, but we'll see. Now in terms of substrate, I'm going to do something kind of unique on this one. I want half this tank to have gravel in, and I'm going to use this gravel. I got it for free. It's clean and ready to go. And for the other half, I am going to use pool filter sand. And I'm going to show you here how I put a divider in the center. And actually, I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be in the center. Now, why am I doing that, you may ask? And that's mainly because I really want some rooted plants in this tank. And I also want to put cichlids in this tank who really like sand. So I'm going to have the best of both worlds. I'm going to have half of it to grow out some plants that I really like, and the other half are going to be enjoyed, hopefully, by the cichlids with the sandy bottom. So with separating the sand and the gravel, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take flat rock, and I'm just going to put a border across the center or close to the center of the tank. And I'm going to make sure they're nice and sturdy with using some white egg crate here and gluing it all in place. And then I'm going to let this dry overnight. And you know, a few rocks are going to drift over to one side and some sand's going to drift over to the other side, but I'm going to do my best to have a nice shelf so for the most part, they stay separated. Now I'm just gluing all this down with silicone, so if I don't like it or if I change the purpose of the tank in the future, I can easily remove it. Here it is after it's been glued and dried with the silicone, and I think it looks pretty good. You can see the supports. This egg crate plastic is very flimsy, so I tried to support it as best I can. Once it's in the tank, it won't be moving. Okay, so I put it in the tank. You see this edge at the front, it's actually touching the glass right here, and there's a gap right here. So I actually did not put the stone in the centered position on the egg crate. After all that measuring, I thought I was pretty careful, and we still have to make some adjustments. I took a closer look at the egg crate on the back side, and there's really nothing that I can take off of that without possibly ruining the structure of it. And so I took my belt sander and I took a little bit off, and it's sitting a little lower, but it's still some needs to come off. So I marked right here with a Sharpie how much more I need to take off, I think, to get this to lay flat. So we're going to try that. Alright, I ground some more of that sand off, that edge. It's a lot flatter now, and it's not touching the glass. So we're in good shape. I'm putting it slightly over to the right side. So And that's mainly because I think I have less rock substrate. And I want to make sure I have enough to fill that right side up with the rock. I put the braces on the sand side because I thought the rock was going to be pushing more on to the divider rock than the sand. So okay, now I've got it in place, and I've got the tan pebbles in the right side, and I put some other brown flat rocks in a few places, and I really like how thick the gravel turned out. To block off some of the open spots, I just put a small piece of slate right there and glued it in place. So if you see it on that side, not a lot's going to get through. And then on the other side, I just moved that piece of slate over, and this piece of slate on the back on this side. Let me see if I can get the camera in here to show you. So back here there's a little opening, but it's really not bad. Now I really like the way this brown slate and the brown rocks and the divider turned out, and I'm having a little bit of a dilemma. I'm really not liking this pool sand in here. I dropped some in, there's some black substrate next to it. I think the black looks better, but I'm really not liking the color of that pool sand. And this tank is turning out to be a lot nicer than I thought. I'm just really liking how everything's turning out. And so now I'm thinking about going away from the pool sand and getting something else. And so I'm going to think about it for a little while and then decide. The egg crate braces are just going to be above the sand. So I need to figure out a way to cover those up better. I'm going to try first to use some of this old coral I have and position it around those egg crate braces. And so I'm going to try that and see how much of this I can get covered. Okay, everything is glued down and in place. I've covered up the egg crate brackets. I also cleaned the tank walls. This is probably the last opportunity I'm going to get without water in the tank. Looks pretty natural, looks pretty good. I guess if you look hard enough, you can see the brackets still. Of course, I'm talking about the wall brackets, not the bottom brackets. That is obviously still sticking out quite a bit. All we have to do now is finish up the left side, and we're good. So for the left side, I'm going to use a combination of two different substrates. The first one here is Aragonite, and it will help buffer the tank. It will raise the pH, and I'm going to use 10 pounds of that. It'll stabilize the water as well, and it'll raise the pH, probably on the high 7s, low 8s, and it will buffer the water so no major pH changes will happen. So I'm using one 10-pound bag of that. And then for the other bag, I'm using just sand. They're both from Carib Sea. And I'll leave an affiliate link below if you're interested in checking those out. And I'm going to be using, I think, 22 10-pound bags of this. We will see how it fills up. So I'm just going to mix them together. And the reason I wanted something smaller than the Aragonite, I wanted the sand, is because the type of fish I'm putting in here will enjoy the sand, but I also wanted to raise the pH. So I put one bag of sand in, and then I'm going to put the Aragonite in, and then the sand on top, and I think it'll just naturally mix together over a period of time. So I'll have sandwiched the Aragonite basically in between the sand. Okay, now the Aragonite and the sand is in the tank, and I think it'll mix up pretty naturally. I just have the fan in there blowing just to kind of blow the dust out of the tank. Now the trick is, when I fill this with water, that sand is going to want to go everywhere. So what I'm going to do is only put a couple inches of water in and let it sit Then when the sand settles down, then I'll start adding more water very, very slowly. So I'm only going to put about 2 inches of water in. If I filled the whole tank up, the sand will just go over to the gravel side and it'll get all mixed up. And I expect that to happen a little bit, but I'm trying to avoid it as much as possible. Alright, it is at a slow trickle, just the way I want it. And it's just about to overflow into the tank out of this bowl. And it'll trickle through the gravel and then slowly over to the sandy side. And once it gets over there, I will stop the water when it reaches about an inch or two, let the sand settle, and then start again. Okay, a few minutes have gone by and it has reached the sand side. And you can see the color change. It is slowly making its way over to the other side of the tank. And that sand, a lot of it is going to start to rise. And that's why I do not want it too high. I want to let it settle down. I thought that was kind of neat, watching the water line go through the sand. Well, it hasn't been too long and the water looks pretty good. It looks like the sand has settled in, and I'm going to fill it up. I don't know if you can see that. That's the Aragonite and then the layer of sand on top of that. Okay, the heaters are in place and we have some decorations in the tank. And the heaters are working. We got the temperature up to about 80 degrees in the tank, so that will be good. The tank's a little cloudy, which can be expected. It might just be some more dust, and it could be a little bit of an algae bloom starting as well, which is normal. So all we need now is some fish. Hey, and as always, I want to thank you for watching, and please consider liking and subscribing to this channel and support. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you for the next one. Until then, happy fish keeping, and thanks for watching.